reading the portion of Mattos, how Hashem says to Moshe that he has to avenge the vengeance of Bnei Yisrael from the Midianites, from the Midianim. So Rashi over here cites Chazal, the Midrash, is Nabi's question. In this particular battle, in terms of the seduction and the balfour of two Jewish men, it wasn't only Midianim. Cosby, who was the Midianite princess, she was a Midianite. But they were the daughters of Moab. Why wasn't Moab annihilated? As Midian was totally destroyed, Moab should have been destroyed. So why did God say, avenge the vengeance of the Bnei Yisrael from the Midianites? What about from Moab? So Rashi cites the Midrash, the Chazal, Lo meis ha-Moavim, she-Moavim nichtasul dvar l'dover machmas hiro. Moab had a vested interest because they were frightened, they were afraid. She-Yireim mehem shiu sholim osam, because they were concerned that they would be plundered, that if the Jews would come in, they'd be plundered. Shol nemer ela al tizga bom milchama. We were only forbidden to engage in war with them, but in terms of to harass them and to plunder them, we were permitted. So therefore, they had a right to defend themselves. So whatever the defense was, so it was justified to a degree. Al Midyanim, but the Midianites, this Abba Riv Lo Lahem, they got involved in a fray over here, which was not. They had no reason to get involved because they got involved. It was totally unjustified, regardless of how they justified it. Therefore, they deserve to be destroyed. That's the first interpretation. Why it was only the Midian and not Moab. Dover Achad, the second one's more difficult. It's also Chazal. Gemara. Really, Moab deserved to be destroyed. Not even Midian. But since there were two small birds, it's a term used, two special people that were meant to be born from Moab, and if Moab would be destroyed, these special women would not be born into the future. Rus HaMoaviyah, Rus the Moabite, the grandmother of David HaMelech, she was meant to be born from Moab. If Moab now would be destroyed, there's no future. Therefore, in the merit of Rus, who has to be born into the future, that's why Moab is not being destroyed today. But factually, they deserve to be destroyed because they brought this tragedy upon the Jewish people. Bilam initially, he tried to curse us. God did not allow him to curse us. God did a tremendous, great chesed with Klal Yisrael that normally there's a certain moment where the wrath of God comes out on the world, and if Bilam would have cursed us at that one moment, we would have been totally annihilated because of that level of wrath. For those days that he attempted to curse us, God withheld his wrath. Even though that moment, which the Gemara says, it's a rega. And what's rega? Kimemro, what it takes to say rega, which is a three-letter word, even that moment, he did not get angry. Because Bilam knew that when that moment was. So why did he destroy them? So what did Bilam say to Balak? Elokeim shalei l'sonim zima. The God of the Jews, he despises promiscuity, licentiousness. You go and you send out the women, they'll seduce the Jewish men, and then God will destroy them. And of course, this was coupled with the Balfour, with the idolatry. Moab deserved to be destroyed because they were part of this enticement, bringing this tragedy upon us. But because Rus HaMoaviyah, who was meant to be born from the Moab nation, therefore God wouldn't destroy Moab. But they deserve to be destroyed. It seems to be a little interesting. I mean, factually, they deserve to be destroyed because Rus was meant to be born from Moab. That should save a whole nation. So what seems to be, there's a concept. Moshe Rabbeinu asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu a number of questions, and he would not answer them. One question he asked God was, why is Rosh V'Tovlo Tzadik v'ralo. Tzadik v'ralo. Or Tzadik v'tovlo. Russia v'ralo. Seems to be there's no rhyme or reason. The evil sometimes has it good, sometimes has it bad. The tzaddik, tovlo, v'ralo. God says, I will not respond. But what is so we explained many times that conceptually we're able to understand why the tzaddik is ralo and the tzaddik is tovlo. We explained tzaddik, ralo is not a question. A tzaddik tovlo. There's no perfect tzaddik. God would prefer the tzaddik should pay his debt in this world, so he should go immediately to the world to come. Without debt, what about tzaddik tovlo? There's no perfect tzaddik. So what does he want that tzaddik to pay his debt before he leaves this world? So what we had explained was because the tovlo is unrelated to his reward. The tzaddik, every tzaddik has his specific, unique mission in this world. If a tzaddik's mission is, let's say, to be charismatic because he has to influence people, he has to have a certain presence, and therefore he has to have wealth, he has to have wisdom, he has to have stature, he has to have good health. All these endowments are unrelated to what he deserves or what he doesn't deserve, because he cannot facilitate his mission unless these endowments are provided for him. So now the question is, but why does this tzaddik have this mission and the other tzaddik doesn't have the mission? The other tzaddik can be ralo, he can pay his debt in this world, although because it won't impede him, it will not create an obstruction, an interference. But why is this tzaddik this? Why is this his mission and that tzaddik that mission? God says that you have to understand the maker of the Jewish soul. That each tzaddik, each soul has its uniqueness, and that's only God knows that. God did not reveal that. Rasha v'tovro, Rasha v'ralo. What about the future? The Ramchal explains, Rasha v'tovlo, the Rasha deserves to go into the oblivion. Deserves many things. But sometimes tzaddik v'tovlo, because in the future, somebody has to be born into his family, and the setting has to be put in place now for that future event to take place, or that future generation has to be born. So you could say, tzaddik, Rasha v'tovlo, Moab deserves to be destroyed. But what about Rusa Movia, who has to be born in the future? If they're destroyed, there's no Rusa Movia. If there's no Rusa Movia, there's no Mashiach, Ben David. Because Rus was the grandmother of David HaMelech. The Gemara says in Brachos that one's destiny lies in his name. What lies in the name Rus? That her Ben Beno, that her grandchild will be Merava HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, he will say God in praise and song. That lies in the name Rus. So because that was meant to be should have that grandson. Therefore God cannot destroy. This is Rasha v'tovlo. They deserve to be destroyed, but they what? Because something has to happen in the future. There's a Orach HaKodesh who cites the Zohar in the portion of Tazria that a soul doesn't have to be born into a specific person or into a specific family, even to a specific nation. I mean, over there he cites the Zohar that after the Chet of Adam Rishon, the sin of Adam when he ate of the tree of knowledge, there were special souls. And Samach Mem, which is the Satan, he captured souls. He captured a number of those souls. And throughout history, some of those souls are able to escape. Hashem releases them from his clutches. One of those souls was Rusa Movia. She was one of those souls. And that he speaks about this in the portion of Eshes Chastor. All of a sudden you're attracted to a woman. She'd be ugly, whatever it may be. And who goes to war? Only the greatest tzaddikim. I mean, a person who's devoutly righteous, a chosed, he should be attracted to another woman. A non-Jewish woman, a married woman, is ugly, a sin. That attraction is her soul. Because that's an indication she has that special soul. She's one of those souls that was captured. So Rusa Movia was captured by Samach Mem, by Satan. She was released. She converted. She was the grandma of David HaMelech. That was Rusa Movia. But why did she have to be born to the nation of Moab? She could have been born to another nation. So good. You're right. Rasha v'tovlo. But why? Why is it v'tovlo? It could have been elsewhere. That person doesn't have to be born to Moab. Rus could be from some other of another nationality, another ethnic group. Didn't have to be from Moab. The Gemara tells us that Balak, who was the king of Moab, was the grandfather of Rus HaMoaviyah. He was the grandfather, Balak. Balak is the one who commissioned Bilam to curse the Jewish people. Bilam said to Balak, I want you to build a number of altars. 7 altars in a number of locations. And he brought sacrifices. Those sacrifices were brought not for idolatry, they brought for God. That's what they brought for. Of course, they brought Shlo D'Shma. He served God through sacrifice to call favor with God to be able to curse the Jewish people. So Bilam should be able to curse. Didn't happen. But factually, he brought sacrifices for God. So the Gemara says in Nazir, Omer Rav Yehuda Marav. Rav Yehuda says name Marav. L'olam yasuk odom b'torah mitzvahs afilu shlo l'shma. A person should engage in Torah mitzvahs even with that not a pure intent, with an ulterior motive. Should be told shlo l'shmon, bo l'shmon. Because ultimately, although you do it initially with a vested interest, it could bring to that more advanced level for the sake of the mitzvah. Why? In the merit of the 42 sacrifices, it doesn't say that Bullock had sacrificed. Hikri Bullock Harosha. He was an evil man at the time. Zocha v'yotzim and Rus. He merited that Rus should be his descendant. So Rus had to come from Moab. She couldn't be born to another nation. Because he did this act of serving God through sacrifice, although it was with an ulterior motive, to curry favor with God to curse the Jews through Bilam, he has to have Rus HaMoaviyah to be his granddaughter. That's the reward. So as a result of that, God says, destroy Midian, Moab not, because the Shtei Predos, the 2 doves or 2 little birds that have to be born in the future, one is Rus HaMoaviyah, and if Moab will be destroyed, there's not going to be a Rus. That's the reason why. Avenge the vengeance of the Jewish people from the Midianites. Then you're going to pass on to your people. Then you're going to die. So Rashi cites the Chazal. Although Moshe heard that his death, his demise, was dependent upon this war, also b'simcha v'loicha. He did it with joy and he did not delay. He did not tarry. See, well, it's difficult. To say he didn't tarry, he didn't delay, it's obvious. He went to war immediately. But I asked the question, seeing it's difficult, how do we know he did it with simcha? Where do you see he did it with joy? Is it in any way indicated that he did it with this joyous state of mind and this emotion? He's singing, he's like walking on air over here, that he's able to destroy Midian. Where do we see the simcha? If a person truly doesn't want to die, and he's forced to do something, you don't do it. You definitely don't do it immediately. You delay, you procrastinate. Something you don't enjoy. The only way Moshe Rabbeinu could do this without any hesitation, it's because he saw its value. He saw its value. Seeing its value, you can't separate joy and the action. I'll give you an example. The Mishnah says, "Kishem shevochan al tov, kach mevochan al ra." As one says, "Shechianu," when good fortune comes to a person. One says, "Dayinu emes," acknowledges God, and God forbid tragedy comes upon a person. Why? Because in truth, it's in man's best interest. Even the tragedy, if a person would understand the value, he would understand it's in his best interest. But because since we cannot internalize and process it in the same context as good fortune, all we say is we acknowledge dynamics. God is the true judge. But if you're able to understand and appreciate its value, of course you would rejoice. You'd rejoice as having a good fortune. Moshe Rabbeinu, that he meant to war immediately, to avenge the vengeance of God, what was discussed in a moment, the vengeance of Bnei Yisrael. He saw its value. He, because of what they did to us with the Baal Peor and with the women, he understood they have to be destroyed. It's the right thing. And it's his good fortune that he's able to destroy. The moment you put it in that context, you can't separate joy from the action itself. So that he did it immediately without any hesitancy clearly says it was b'simcha. Also b'simcha v'lo'ichem. Because if the simcha wasn't there, it's inevitable you have to procrastinate. You have to delay. The non-delay is clearly a confirmation that this is b'simcha. We had once said, we find that Moshe Rabbeinu was a little down because he didn't participate in building the Mishkan. So Hashem says, why didn't you participate in the building of the Mishkan? Because he said, because if I would have participated, I was concerned I would take away the opportunity from another Jew. Because if I do it, maybe I'll deny another Jew to be able to participate. So I figured, let them do what they do, and whatever's lacking, I will complete. At the end of the day, they did everything. So Hashem, God says to Moshe, Shilachol Gedol Mishalem, your participation is greater. They may have made the Mishkan, you will erect the Mishkan. Then the Siyim, we find the princes is spelled with the Yud deleted to indicate that their participation was deficient. It was deficient. Why? So Hashem says, why do you deserve to be reprimanded? Because they said, let the Jews do what they do, and whatever's lacking, we will complete. Verbatim. Moshe's words verbatim. Hashem says, you people, you deserve to be reprimanded. What would have been if they would have left you out altogether? You've been left out in the cold. So how do you take a chance? Therefore, it's due to your laziness. That's why you delayed. I mean, we understand God doesn't have a two-track system. Verbatim, Moshe's words and the Nesiim, the prince's words are identical, yet the Nesiim are reprimanded, and Moshe is extolled. Your participation is greater than theirs. So what we had said was that Moshe Rabbeinu, what is his level of humility? Nachnumor. There's not a trace of self. So when Moshe said that, there's no such thing as delay. Attributed to laid backness. It is what he said. But if there's a trace of any self, this level of opportunity, you cannot hold back. There's no way not to address it instantaneously. So why didn't you? The answer is it's your laid backness. It's attributed to your atzlus, to the laziness. That's the reason. Your laziness doesn't let you appreciate the value of what's at hand over here. So it's not a two-track system. It's just the reality of Moshe and the reality of who the princes were. That's the difference. Moshe Rabbeinu, that he's acting immediately is clearly an indication it's b'simcha. You can't separate the two. Rabbi Omer, Ilu Rotza Moshe Lichus Kama Shonim. If Moshe wanted to extend his life many years, he could have lived. Shomala Kodesh Baruch Hu Dekom Niklas Bnei Yisrael Mesa Midyanim Achate Osef. First avenge the vengeance of Bnei Yisrael from the Midianites, and then you'll pass on. Tola Kodesh Baruch Hu Misosu B'Nikmas Midyan. His death was contingent on the vengeance against Midian. Now, this is interesting. To say Moshe is praiseworthy, you say a person who could be blindsided, and you're not, you'd say that's praiseworthiness. Despite your conflict, you saw it right. But it says over here, Elodiecha Shivcho Shel Moshe. Very interesting. That Moshe did not delay, that's to inform us of the praiseworthiness of Moshe. Shlo Omar, he didn't say, Bishvil she'eche akev nikmas b'nei Yisrael midyanim. so that I should delay my passing, I will delay destroying Midian. That he didn't say that, tells us his praiseworthiness. What, from Moshe Rabbeinu, who's nachem mo? He's totally negated. To God, there's not a self-interest at any level. The shivcha, even from Moshe Rabbeinu, this was praiseworthy. Why was that praiseworthy? Why was it praiseworthy? Seemingly, it's the Chofetz Chaim. That he hadn't eaten for 3 days and he didn't go to a non-kosher butcher to buy non-kosher food, that's praiseworthy. We're talking about the Chofetz Chaim. Or did he violate the Shabbos? That's praiseworthy. And this is Chofetz Chaim. Moshe Rabbeinu, we can't fathom in a million years what Moshe Rabbeinu was. As we can't relate to what the Chofetz Chaim was. And so multiple, infinite times over. And this is praiseworthiness. And this is to inform us of the praiseworthy of Moshe, that he went to battle immediately. That shows he didn't delay, although he had a self-interest to delay. There's no self-interest in Moshe Rabbeinu. No such thing as self-interest. A little later, Midrash tells us when Moshe Rabbeinu gave the order to go to war against Midian, he said, "Lo seis nikvas Hashem b'Midian." You should avenge God's vengeance. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Omar, Nikmas b'nei Yisrael, Bosham Nikmas Hashem. God says you should avenge the vengeance of the Jews, the Jewish people against Midian. And Moshe says, no, the vengeance of God. Omar Moshe. So Moshe says to God, Ribono Olamim, Master of the universe, if we be uncircumcised, if we be pagans, or kofrim mitzvahs, or we would reject your mitzvahs, the Gentiles, the world wouldn't hate us. They wouldn't pursue us. They wouldn't hound us. So why do they hound us? Why do they hate us? Why do they despise us? Why are we pariahs in society? The reason why we're despised and hated and pursued is because the Torah gave us. So therefore it's your vengeance. It's because we're God's people, that's why they want to destroy us. So isn't this God's vengeance against Midian? Habe, therefore, losis nipas Hashem b'Midian. Therefore, it's to avenge God's vengeance against Midian. That's how Moshe processed it. So, this is the way we have to understand it. Additionally, Hashem says to Moshe, you should avenge the vengeance of Bnei Yisrael against Midian. Why? Because they wanted to destroy us. And then you will pass on. Now, there were 24,000 casualties in the plague because of what happened. When they were involved with the Moabite women, with idolatry. So you know something? Sometimes Moshe's leadership is one of a kind. Lokam b'Moshe, oh, Navi Moshe. Moshe is the greatest prophet. Moshe, as the Gemara depicts him, it's like the sun at high noon. Yeshua is Kibnei Levana. As the moon reflects the light of the sun, but it's not the sun. So, his successor, at what level will he lead them? At a much lesser level. So rather than avenging the tragedy which they brought upon the Jewish people, you know something? The longer I live, the better it is for the Jews. It's better for the Jews. So that would be a justification. Eventually I will. But until I feel they're in a place where they should be, I'll push the envelope to the nth degree. However, so if that would have been the reality, it would have been justified, the delay. But Moshe processed it differently. But why did they want to destroy us? Because they despise God. Because we're God's representation. It's Kavod Shamayim. Kavod Shamayim has nothing to do with my leadership. That I cannot tolerate. Not for a moment. So this is Lahagish Shvacho Shel Moshe. This is the praiseworthiness. If he would have processed it the first way, it's not because it's a conflict of interest. God said it in a way where it's because the Jews were the ones who suffered. They had casualties. It's a personal vendetta here. Nothing personal. This is purely God's glory. They wanted to remove God from existence. That I cannot tolerate for a moment. I die, it doesn't make a difference. This is dying on Kiddush Hashem. I'm willing to die. I'm willing to forfeit everything. For Kavod Shemayim, for God's glory. That's L'Hagid Shrocha Shel Moshe. That's to inform us the praiseworthy Moshe. He did not tarry or delay, and he went to war immediately, although he knew he would die. And although his leadership would have been far greater than Yeshua's leadership. Doesn't make a difference. When it comes to Kavod Shemayim, immediate, no delay, not for a moment. The Midrash tells us, it says regarding Yeshua was Moshe's successor. His responsibility was the conquest of Canaan. To conquer and divide. Ksiv Yeshua, it says regarding Yeshua, Kasher Yisi im Moshe ei imoch. God says, as I was with Moshe, I will be with you. Yeshua lichos mea v'eshem shana. Yeshua was meant to live 120 years. K'moshe Rabbeinu, identically as his Rebbe. As his Rebbe lived 120 years, he was meant to live 120 years. V'loma niskatzu esher shana. Why did he have 10 years deducted from his life? He only lived 110 years. Aval pishin is basib sur samovis lo omar ochar nimes. Mayoli she'enko midyan. Although Moshe was informed that the moment he brings victory, he destroys Midian, he will die. He's informed of death. He did not delay. He went with zeal to destroy Midian. Shenema yishlachos of Moshe. Aval Yeshua also came. Yeshua was told, conquer the land, and then you will pass on. When he came to do battle with 31 kings of Canaan, if I finish the conquest, I'm going to pass on, because that's my mission. As Moshe, right after the battle was over, he passed on. The moment I finish the conquest, my life's over. So what did he do, Yeshua? He engaged, but he delayed. He wasn't in the rush to complete the battle, the conquest. Shenemar, as it says in the Pasuk, Yomim Rabim Osi Yeshua Eskol Amlochem Eila Milchama. It was over an extended period he engaged in battle with all these kings. Hashem says, the Kach Osisa, you think this is what you're doing? I will shorten your years 10 years. You can live 10 years less. Because you should have learned from your Rebbe. As your teacher did not delay, he went immediately, you should have gone immediately. Therefore, not only will you not extend your life, you're going to live less than the years that you meant to live. Omar David, Rabos Machshovos Bladish, God has many calculations, many computations, but ultimately the Word of God is delivered. That's what stands. You can't circumvent God. God says, you do, you have to do. Well, according to my calculation, I'll be able to extend my life. There's no such thing. At the end of the day, it's the way God wants it to be. That's the end of the story. Now the question is, why did Yeshua? Evidently, if Moshe Rabbeinu did it, that's the way he conducted himself. Why did Yeshua learn from his teacher, from his Rebbe? Torah itself is Moshe Rabbeinu. The word of Moshe is the word of God. Moshe, every decision he made is rooted in divinity. So why did he learn from his Rebbe? If that's the proper behavior. Your Rebbe behaved this way, you behaved this way. But yet he didn't. And not only that, even more difficult, when Moshe Rabbeinu did what he did, Moshe. If it's praiseworthy for Moshe, what are you demanding from Yeshua? Yeshua is not Moshe. You know, if the Rambam can do it, why can't you do it? I'm not the Rambam. Moshe Rabbeinu was able to do it. So that question is not a question at all. It's true. Moshe Rabbeinu, to process it, you have to be Moshe Rabbeinu. But once he processed it, and he established the proper approach and mode of behavior, automatically, even you're not Moshe, you have to follow. Yeshua should have. But what was Yeshua's justification of delay? So I think the difference is, we find at the end of Dvarim, the Pasuk says that Moshe Rabbeinu says that after I will die, you will follow idolatry. So Rashi cites Chazal, who asked, but that's not the case. The Jews didn't engage in paganism until the passing of Yeshua. So the Gemara says that as long as Yeshua was alive, the Jews did not get involved in idolatry. So why did Moshe Rabbeinu say, as long as I'm alive, you will not do idolatry? Because as long as the Talmud of the Rebbe is alive, and he had such love for Yeshua, when he knew Yeshua was alive, that's like he's alive. Yeshua is continuing his presence, his successor. So Yeshua, even though he's Pnei Levana, although he's only a reflection of his Rebbe, but factually his leadership is one of a kind of leadership. Once he passes on, is idolatry. And Yeshua knew this. So Moshe Rabbeinu, maybe he went to war immediately because he has a successor to maintain them, although they won't be maintained at the level that he would maintain them, but it'll be with the semblance of the leadership of Moshe. But once Yeshua passes on, it's the end of an era. Then they fall off the cliff, as they say. They go immediately to paganism. Therefore, Yeshua says it's not comparable. My situation is not comparable to my Rebbe's situation. Therefore, I will delay. Because here the delay is in the best interest of what? Of Klal Yisrael. Because they need this level of leadership to be guided and to be mentored, as I mentor them. But Hashem says, that was the basis for his misunderstanding. But factually, he should have learned. How do we understand? Listen, wait. Moshe, it was a question of Kovod Shemayim. Why? It says, Kol Ador v'chutz l'oretz ke'en lo eloka. The Jews had to be settled in Israel. They had to serve Hashem properly. You need the conquest, and you have to be settled there. You have to be fully settled in a way where there's no distractions. If that's the case, regardless, leadership, no leadership, you can't serve God properly unless this conquest is completed. So we're dealing with Kovod Shemayim here. Of course, it is. But Yeshua's mistake was he made this calculation to differentiate between himself and his Rebbe. As Moshe Rabbeinu, for Kovod Shemayim, was willing to give it up immediately, everything, Yeshua, that should not have been a calculation. Or when Kovod Shemayim is at stake, which is Klal Yisrael, advancing at a level which would have been special, you can't make, as we say, you can't make fishbones. You can't make computations or calculations. And if you do, you're going to be punished. So rather than extending your life will shorten 10 years. It's interesting. Yeshua was a grandson of Yosef. Yeshua was from the tribe of Ephraim. Yosef was meant to live 120 years. He lived 110 years. Yeshua was meant to live 120 years. He lived 110 years. Now, why did Yosef have 10 years taken from his life? Because before Yosef revealed himself to his brothers, and they thought he's the viceroy, he entered into this sparring with Yehuda, because he had believed that the viceroy wanted to take Binyamin for whatever reason. And Yehuda wasn't going to allow this. So he went and he recounted and reviewed everything from the first moment they arrived till the present moment. And he referred to his father Yaakov, Abdecha Ovi, your servant, my father. Yosef hears, my father, your servant. Or your servant, my father. He remained silent. He heard it 10 times. Each time he heard it, and he did not reveal that he was Yosef, he had to get taken off his life. The 10 times. So therefore, it was 110 rather. So, but why didn't he immediately reveal it? Why did Yosef play the game? He was playing a game. And why did he reveal it finally? Because then he was afraid Yehuda would kill him. And if he killed him, it would never be known that this was Yosef. But why is he playing the game? because he had the dreams, and the dreams were prophetic. He believed he had to bring them to fruition, that Yaakov had to come to Egypt and bow to him, because that was the dream. You know something? But you hear your father being referred to as your servant. It's unjustified. You can't hear that and tolerate that. It's a disrespect. You should reveal it immediately. I'm Yosef. But what about the dreams? But the dreams aren't come to fruition. So what did Yosef? Yosef made a calculation. It's also a computation. A computation. But what about the dreams? It's none of your business, the dreams. Something's being said which is a disrespect to your father. Dreams have no relevance. Kavod Shemaim is at stake over here. But my leadership, after they became pagans. It's better I should continue my life, extend my life. You should have learned from your Rebbe. But you can differentiate. But still, Kavod Shemaim, God's glory is they have to be settled, the conquest has to be completed. Same thing. Each one made a calculation, a computation here. What was the end result? Each of them had 10 years taken from their lives because we find that Aaron HaKohen also made a computation. And he nearly lost all his sons. When he saw Hur's nephew was killed because he interfered with the rabble when they wanted to make the golden calf, Aaron said, it's better that the blame should be put upon me than they should kill me. Why? Because I'm a Kohen and a Navi. And if they kill a Kohen and a Navi and a prophet, they will never be forgiven. They can never be atoned. Elam kapora. Therefore, better I should sin and I should forfeit everything rather than they should be unatonable. What do you mean, that's not your concern. You don't make cheshbonos. You have to do what you're supposed to do. It's unacceptable. Factually, he lost 2 sons. Another of you passed away because of the story. Initially, all 4 of his sons were supposed to die. Why didn't they die? Because Moshe was prayed that 50% of the decree should be nullified. Just as an aside, you see Moshe's unbelievable, his tzidkos, his righteousness. If all of Aaron's sons would have chas v'shalom died. Initially, Moshe was meant to be the Kohen. But because he overstepped his bounds at the burning bush, God says, initially you were meant to be the Kohen. From now on, Aaron, who was Middle Levi, is going to be the Kohen. What happens if all of Aaron's sons die? What happens? There's nobody to replace. Because the best next candidate is Moshe. So Moshe had a reason, a self-interest, not to pray that the decree should be annulled. And then it would be reinstated to him. His family would have been the Kohanim. Chas v'sholom. When the decree was, he prayed that Aaron's should not suffer that level of suffering. Although the kuna is going to be his and not, is going to be Aaron's and not his. Forever. He forfeited forever. Here he has a chance to take it back. No such thing. Moshe prayed selflessly. For Aaron, he annulled 50% of the decree. That's why there was a Lozny summer. But it's interesting. There was a Lozny summer, but it's not so simple. Because at Lozny summer, they were meant to die. Right? But Pinchas was born already. Pinchas would have been the Kohen. Because Pinchas became a Kohen not because Aaron was the Kohen, because he did the act of zealotry and he saved the Klal Yisrael. But Moshe Rabbeinu at that time didn't know that. You see, he didn't know it at the time. When he prayed that the decree should be annulled, he had no idea what the future was going to bring in terms of Pinchas becoming a Kohen. Who were meant to be the Kohanim? The sons of Aaron, who were going to be anointed. Pinchas was never anointed. So if that's the case, it doesn't detract from Moshe's exceptional level, although he could have believed that he's able to recoup the kahuna which he had lost, yet he prayed that the decree should be annulled. Even though ultimately, even if God chas v'sholom, they would have all perished because of the decree, it still would have been in Aaron's family because Pinchas rose to the level of Kohen, because lo chilisis b'nei Yisrael b'kinosi v'chaper b'nei Yisrael, because he ultimately worried about the atonement that there's a Jewish people. It's interesting. The Rechaim HaKodesh points out over here, initially Moshe was told he should be the one to avenge the Bnei Yisrael from the Midianites, from the Midianim, and yet he sends Pinchas. If he's told, what are you sending? We always say, mitzvah bo yosem b'shlucho. There's a greater mitzvah. If you're able to do it yourself, you don't delegate it to a third party. So he goes to explain that there are two ways to understand. Nikom, Nikmas, and Midiani. Nikmas, Bnei Yisrael, and Midiani. Either he should be the one actually to go to destroy them, or it means that to strategize it and lay the plan how to destroy them, you should be in the planning stage. Not that you should be the one. Because, for example, there were 1,000 men from each tribe who went to this battle. And who are they? They were Anoshim. They were tzaddikim. They were untainted. They were untainted by what? By the sin of the Bnos Moab. Even in thought they were untainted. Who can make that evaluation? Only Moshe can make that evaluation. Nobody but Moshe. So therefore, only in strategy, in planning, and that's what Moshe processed it. It was never meant that he should actually go to war physically to destroy Midian. But he should be behind the scenes planning, and he should be the one, because only he had the ability to make these evaluations of who's qualified, who's not qualified. So he says over here, he was able to comprehend and understand. He needs a tremendous amount of wisdom how to deal with the issue, how to destroy Midian. The nation which the vengeance has to come upon them, they're the people through which the Jews, they failed regarding illicit relationships. Mehem b'maseh, some of them with action. Mehem b'machshava, others with thought. Hagam shenigif Hashem kama v'kama, although there were 24,000 casualties in the plague. Adrabah yikachik b'kachik hapilo b'milchamtom. L'tzad shemisov, there's still a trace of sin. He says, what's the proof? Although there was a plague at the time of the Egel. You have the Kohen Gadol, when he goes into the Holy of Holies, or does the service in Kippur, he can't wear gold vestments. Because we say, Ein katek nasan eger, a prosecutor cannot be an advocate. But we already paid the price. We haven't yet finished paying the price. There's always a trace. It's the same here, there's a trace. And because there's that trace, therefore, the evaluation has to be perfect, that there's no trace of sin. He says, and this battle, you need miracle. They have to merit miracles to beat. This is Bilam together with the group. They'll be denied miracles unless that special level. Your wisdom, through your ability, you should stage how it's going to take place, this battle. You should succeed in your vengeance. And therefore he succeeded. So here he says, and then you will pass on. Now, initially, when the story of Zimri was happening, Moshe and Aaron, they were beside themselves. They didn't know what to do. Pinchas comes and he says, didn't you teach me that a person who's engaged in this kind of behavior, if you're a zealot, you have a right to kill him? So, Moshe remembered. But he said, because you're the one who actually activated it, you should be the one to carry it out. Okay? So he said, but factually, Moshe is faulted for it. If Moshe Rabbeinu would have killed Zimri, it would have been a different level. Then Pinchas would have killed him, he says. He's not in a position yet to return to his place in Olam Haba. There's some kind of preventive here, interference. His neshama will not be able to attach where it's supposed to attach in the world to come. He'll have to be judged. Everything is brought to judgment. We say that that Hashem is so exactly with his tzaddikim, even as much as a hairbreadth. Because he was laid back. He didn't immediately address the story of Zimri. Hashem had a claim against Moshe. You should have acted immediately, which you did not. Now there was a time for him to pass on. You know what the correction is this? You have to undo that chil Hashem. These people have to be totally annihilated. The vengeance has to be taken place. These people have to be wiped out. And once this has been completed, you've addressed this issue. Sotan has nothing to say. There's no longer any basis of prosecution. This is a chesed Hashem giving the tzaddik the opportunity to make the correction last moment, to be able to achieve what he was meant to achieve. Liyadidov Yinachim B'Magli Tzedek. Where do we find something similar? We find that Moshe Rabbeinu, because of the story of the burning bush, he forfeited the Torah. Okay? So you'd say he had kapara, but we say not. And the Rechaim HaKodesh points this out. Who installed Aaron and his children to be Kohanim? Moshe had to dress them, he had to anoint them. You know something, it's bad enough that I forfeited, I lost it. It's painful enough. Forever it won't be mine. Hashem has put salt on the wounds. He's putting salt on the wounds here. Yet it says he did it b'simcha, with joy. That he was able to do with joy to install Aaron and his children to be Kohanim, he says it's like a branch has to be reattached to the trunk of the tree. To regraft it has to be perfect. If there's any separation, it doesn't take well. Moshe had to be reinstated fully. To atone for what happened at the snap, the burning bush, he had to do this, totally submit himself, total submission, and do it with joy. Same here. As great as you are, Moshe Rabbeinu, doesn't make a difference. There was a delay. That delay is attributed to you. Therefore, this Nakama has to be taken out. This vengeance has to be taken out to destroy them, and only then could you be reinstated. It's interesting because he sent 1,000 troops, men, 1,000 of each tribe. And then it says, Osam es Pinchos ben Olos. He sent them and Pinchos ben Olos HaKohen to go to battle. So Rashi says, what does it have to make the point? Osam, Pinchos was included with them. Shoholach linkom nikmas Yosef Abiyim. He wanted to avenge Yosef, the father, from his maternal side. Maternally, Shenema v'Midyanim bochru also. The Midianites sold Yosef into slavery, and they're the ones who sold him to the Egyptians. How do we know that she, from his maternal side, she was also from Yosef? Because it says in the Posuk, Dos Putiel, Mizer Yisro, he also descended from Yisro, who fattened the calves for idolatry. O Mizera Yosef Shepitbet Yisro, he was also from the progeny of Yosef, who mocked, who deprecated his inclination. That's why. So he went specially, he had a score to settle. He had a personal vendetta to destroy Midian. We're going back hundreds of years. He settled because they sold him. The Midianites happened to be in the chain of transporting him, selling him, and they sold him. How do we understand this? So it's interesting. So here the Kli Yakar says something. He cites Chazal, it's a Medrash, Gemara. Ki b'lafochi or Pinchas soni lohem. Mitzad ha'mechila. Pinchas, he despised the Midianites for what they had done to him. Why? Shemochres Yosef Mitzrayma. Torah makes it, but they sold him to Egypt. Mokom yuchad l'znus. That was the location of promiscuity in the world. They were shtufi zima. They were immersed in promiscuity and licentiousness. They lived and breathed it there in Egypt. Now there's a repeat performance. As they sold Yosef to fail there, they sold him intentionally to Egypt. Now again, they tried to what? To destroy us through promiscuity, the Bnos Moab. So let's understand it. Because they sold him to Egypt, which was the stronghold, the bastion of depravedness in sexual behavior and perversion, and now again, he cannot tolerate their existence. He will destroy them, annihilate them. The Gemara tells us in Sota that the story with the wife of Potiphar, where she nearly seduced him, it says, why didn't he fail? Because he saw he saw the visage of his father. And you know what Yaakov said to him? He said to him, if God forbid you should fail here, on the Choshen, when he's going to say the names of the tribes, your name's not going to be there. Because you're going to be a roa zonos. You're going to be the equivalent of shepherding prostitutes. By engaging with this woman, you're prostituting yourself. And you, therefore, you're not worthy. It will be a disgrace for you to be on the breastplate of the Kohen Gadol. So because he was able to withhold himself, it's written Yehosef. Yud K. Not Yosef, Yehosef. A letter was added. When they sold, Midian sold Yosef to Egypt. We have 12 shortim. Why did Yaakov believe when Yosef died that he's going to get him? Because he had a Masorah that if any one of his children died in his lifetime, he will not have a share in the world to come. What was Yaakov's value in existence? To establish a Klal Yisrael. Establish a Jewish people. You have to have 12 tribes. If Yosef died, he didn't have a family, 11 tribes. There's no Jewish people. That means he did not meet his mission, his objective, therefore he will be punished forever. Because all God's glory, l'chvodi barosiv, for my glory I created, only comes through Klal Yisrael. If it's not Klal Yisrael, you're culpable. When they sold Yosef to Egypt, it was to destroy Yosef. It wasn't Yosef for Yosef. Yosef, representing Yaakov, one of the Shvatim, they wanted to destroy that. Because if he would have failed there is no Jewish people. Yosef becomes disenfranchised. You hear what's going on? Bilam said to Midian, Elokeim shelelu sonim zima. The God of the Jews despises licentiousness. He cannot tolerate it. That's the way to destroy them. And if not for Pinchas' zealotry, we would have been destroyed. So this is already, it wasn't just they sold him to a depraved location. It was with a calculation that if Yosef fails, it's over. There's no spirituality, there's no God in this world. So what are we speaking about? This is Kavod Shemayim at the most advanced level. I will avenge God's glory. So this is Lashem. Just as Moshe, although he knew he was going to die, he went to battle immediately. Because it's not B'nai Yisrael. It's Nikmas Hashem B'Yisrael, B'Midjan. Pinchas going, knowing what they tried to do to Yosef, and now he's incensed. He's livid. He's totally consumed with this anger. Therefore, he will definitely destroy them as they deserve to be destroyed.